US Secretary of State has accused China of considering providing weapons to support Russia in the war against Ukraine. Joining us now is the Dean of Global Futures and political analyst at Curtin University, Joe Siracusa. Joe, good morning to you. So pretty strong comments that have come from Secretary Blinken overnight and quite an accusation. I think it's fair to say a lot of people suspected this, but if it turns out to be true, what does this mean?
Well, it just continues to worsen the relationship between Washington and Beijing. Look, Pete, I don't think Secretary Blinken has much evidence on this. I mean, it can be presumed. Keep in mind, 140 nations have not signed up on the crusade against Putin's Russia, so a lot of people could be providing these shells or whatever it is. North Korea probably is already, and so is Iran. So I'm not so much worried about that. I mean, the optics at the Munich security thing were very poor. I mean, the Chinese foreign minister gets up there and talks about his plan to have peace or a international conference to end the war in Ukraine. And you got Blinken, who's accusing the Chinese of bankrolling the Russians. And then you got Kamala Harris talking about she's going to make sure America has Putin on trial for crimes against humanity. Look, it's quite clear that the United States doesn't have much leverage over China, and that was mainly for optics.
Right. So this is so he may have just gone on a thought bubble and said something. I don't know, as a get square for balloons, perhaps.
Well, yeah, they're trying to get the high ground here, trying to get some moral ground. For the balloon business. I mean, you got 4 balloons coming across America, and on one of those balloons, you use a $400,000 missile to bring down a $12 balloon. Now you're starting to look stupid. I mean, you just can't afford to look stupid on the international stage. And look, I think it's important that we end this war as quickly as possible before more loss of life. And it's quite clear to me, Pete, that President Putin is doubling down, and what American support is going to dwindle away in the next 6 months, I think, because they don't want to pick up the bills forever.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we don't seem to have a plan to get out of this war. And you notice the other thing that bothers me is that we keep talking about whether President Zelensky or Ukraine will join NATO. It seems to me that Zelensky has the key to the back door. He just tells these guys what to do. And you got 30 adults running to different parts of the world to give this guy more arms, when in fact, I think the Estonian foreign minister pointed out that, or the president of Estonia, that the Russians use more weapons or more artillery in one day than Europe produces in the factory in 1 month. So they're going to outlast this way. So
really
I think the charges are very interesting, but they're unsubstantiated. And frankly, right now, the United States has to overcome the incredulity associated with the shooting down balloons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not sure that's a good idea, Ukraine joining NATO, given that's what this is all about. China and Russia have had security pacts in the past. There was a big one that was signed not last year, but the year before. But I remember this was talked about at the time about whether or not China was sending weapons to Russia or whatever, that China would have some reticence doing that. So went the reporting, because it wouldn't want to be seen to be on, say, a losing team or get caught up in those sanctions that have applied to Russia. So it was kind of keeping a distance. It was non-committal on supporting the war. Do you think anything there has changed?
Not really. Pete, when we were young in university, the Sino-Soviet split, that is the Chinese and the Russians, went their own way in terms of what communism was. We didn't know this for years and years. I mean, they were at each other's throats. They got a 6,000-mile border between them, which means they're going to have problems to the end of time, as far as I could tell. And the Russians want to burn the place down, and the Chinese just want to go to the Olympics and win. I mean, they're playing a different game. And sure, they'll say nice things about Putin, because most of the global South says nice things about Putin. They want to continue to be leaders in the world. But I think the Chinese will always have their own independent foreign policy. And look, it's the same thing with Russia too. Russia may cozy up to different people from time to time. Even cozied up with Hitler in 1939 for a moment. Look, it just doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, because each of these these countries pursue their own national interests.
Okay. Joe Siracusa, good to chat.